Good evening, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Cover One Film Room, part of the, you guessed it, Cover One Sports Network. I am one of your two hosts this evening, Anthony Prohaska, joined tonight by Mr. Kendall Mursky. Kendall, we are without our fearless leader, Mr. Eric Turner. He was called away for some business that he had to attend to, so it's just you and me riding that, driver and shotgun action like we have been for so long here, and here we are for a really fun episode on a prospect who I don't know if anybody's not watching, they won't know, but for all the live viewers, they're seeing the jersey you got going on in the background there. So I feel like you're maybe doubly excited for tonight's episode.
I'm pretty excited. Yeah, it was incredible timing. My birthday is on the 27th of April, which is always draft season, like right on the draft. And year after year, that's usually one of my gifts. It's one of the draft picks, a jersey for one of the draft picks. And I was like, which one do I get? I even asked you about it, Anthony. I was like, which one do I get? Like, should I go Elam? Should I go James Cook? I kind of like Shakir.
We were talking about it on the Saturday, but
Yeah.
right before the day 3 started, you were like, "Yo, I don't know who to get. I'm trying to think of longevity, but also who's sweet. I don't know."
I was in between Elam and Cook, like legitimately in between those two. And then I was like, I mean, the Bills aren't going to re-sign a running back, so why would I get a running back jersey? I'm just going to get 4 years out of it, and then it's gone forever. So I was thinking, all right, I'll just get an Elam jersey, and then the Bills snagged Shakir in the 5th round. And I was like, it's a 5th round pick. It's kind of risky, but I think it's going to work out. And it literally came today. So I had to hang it up on my backdrop.
Very fortuitous, very much a piece of destiny and fate. Yeah, I think it's super funny that we were going back and forth, and then that happened. I think I messaged you later that night on Saturday, and
yes,
when we did.
It might have been like the next day or
I was just saying when we did the breakdown of the day 3 picks, and I was like, you should get a Shakir jersey. You were
like doing your prep work. You were doing your prep work. You were like, wait, this guy's kind of sick. Like, you should get this jersey.
Like, dude, like that just fits. Like, I'm the same way. Like, cause I'm very, you want to get somebody you like, but also like you want someone with staying power. And exactly, like you don't want to get somebody and then in 2 years they're gone or 3 years they're gone. You want that person for the long haul. You want that person whose jersey you can continue to rock as the team grows. And so awesome jersey grab for you. And yeah, we have I think Pops is talking about your jersey. He says it's nice, but it's not a tree. You're darn right. It's not a tree. Well done, Pops. John's comment was good that your mom gave you extra allowance. That's very funny.
I wish I still got allowance.
I wish I got allowance too. Well, I mean, I guess I do because I have a job, but I feel like it's different. I'd rather just live at home and not have that. Before we get started, I don't want to dive too much into it, but tragedy stuff that happened today in the world down in Texas. And so just our thoughts are with anyone, and even if you're not connected to it in any way, but just with everyone in general. The world is just kind of spiraling out of control in a variety of ways. And so just whether you're directly connected or indirectly, or you live there, you don't live there, you just feel some type of way, or if you have children, or just even if you don't, you're just a regular human being and you're empathetic and sympathetic. We just wanted to extend our condolences, and thoughts and prayers are with anyone and everyone through these times. It's, it's just a lot of difficult things happening in the world, and there's no real easy way to respond, but we hope everyone's, doing as well as can be, and our thoughts and prayers are with you, and we hope everyone is doing well. And we're going to trudge through here. I'm going to bring up a couple more. I want to bring up this one comment from Amy. She's a tremendous supporter of ours, and she says, perfect. Ant and Kendall, I had to say it like the song, Mafia and Go Bills. Appreciate you. Want to say what's up to Ronald, being here in the chat and saying what's up. And then, Jason's one of the few people who gets me. He always recognizes the tree, and it warms my heart and my soul. He says, power to the tree. Got the little emoji there. Appreciate you, Jason. Thank you very much. Ooh, Pops has a question. He says, what does the film room think of your Madden draft? Well, I mean, I think we're probably biased because we're the two that kind of did on the show. So I think it's good so far, but I guess we'll find out.
I think it's great. I've played a couple of preseason games because I never told anyone. I told you after the show, I can't do a show this week because Memorial Day weekend, I'm actually going back to Rochester. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'll just play out the preseason, get a feel for this team a little bit, set the roster, all that stuff. And then in 2 weeks, I'll get the regular season game going against the Steelers. But I like the team so far. It's a fun play. I mean, Herbert at quarterback and that defense that we drafted. It's very versatile. Kyle Hamilton
Yes.
and big nickel. It's fun stuff.
Hamilton and Chin and Simmons and Gary and Thibodeau, and then on offense with Herbert and Debo and Jameson Williams, and man, yeah, just a lot of fun pieces.
Fun.
That worked out well. The chat was great. The live engagement was fantastic, and yeah, so the film room approves of the Madden draft right now at this point. And then yeah, as soon as Kendall starts getting some games in, obviously we'll have to break that down and go over scheme and correct and course correct all the mistakes and areas of opportunities and maximize strengths and mitigate weaknesses and all that kind of stuff. But as we move forward here on tonight's episode, Mr. Khalil Shakir, who, I guess before we dive into him as a person, let's talk about this receiver room a little bit. A grouping that has a true alpha, a true number one in Stephon Diggs, who at worst is like a top 10 receiver in the NFL, but is most likely in that anywhere from 5 to 7 range, depending on how you want to rank him or what you value. And he's easily in the top 3 in terms of route running prowess and ability. He's one of the best route runners in football. He's tremendous. You have a potential further breakout number 2 receiver in Gabriel Davis coming into this year. And then you got some question marks at that third receiver piece. You no longer have Cole Beasley, who even in a down year last year when he was banged up and it was, missed some time and then was limited in game action for a decent amount of the stretch there. He saw 738 snaps last year. Manny Sands saw 790. That's a significant amount of snaps to replace. And we go into this year before the draft. Bills signed Jamison Crowder. They bring back Isaiah McKenzie, and it looks like, okay, they're going to platoon that slot position. Now they draft Khalil Shakir, who you and I have done multiple breakdowns on him at this point. You and I recognize the value that he presents. Getting him in the 5th round was just absolutely tremendous. But now you introduce Shakir into this wide receiver group. Kind of doesn't necessarily change things maybe immediately, but this is someone who long-term can do a lot for this room, but also make an impact in 2022. Where does he stand in this receiver room right now as we start to really get the wheels turning through OTAs and get towards training camp and all that for you?
I gotta imagine he's thoroughly competing for like that number 4 wide receiver gig. And I mean, he'd have to really do something special to go ahead and like take the job away from Crowder as the slot receiver.
He would either have to be amazing or Crowder would have to be just terrible. I don't see Crowder being terrible.
It would have to be one of those two. I think it is Crowder's job to lose. I think McKenzie is in there fighting for that starting slot role, but I think it is wholeheartedly Crowder's job to lose.
Watch Isaiah Hodgins come in and like win the third receiver spot.
I mean, that would be a great problem to have. Absolutely great problem to have. But I think he's definitely going to be fighting for that 4th wide receiver role. He could do some kick and punt return stuff. Perfect timing, Claude. And he could take away gadget stuff from McKenzie. Maybe it's something that we'll show on tape. There is something there to that. He does have the return stuff. He does have the gadget stuff. So is he a McKenzie replacement for the future, or is he going to usurp that role right away? I don't know. But right away, I do see him as that competing for the 4th wide receiver role. And I feel like he'll have a similar impact, probably not to the same level, but similar impact that Gabe Davis had in his rookie year, where he's kind of spotty in terms of opportunities. But when he gets those opportunities, he comes through because he presents such a high floor and good work ethic and understanding of how to get open and little nuances to route running and everything like that. I think he has a very solid grasp of the nuances to the position that when he gets those limited opportunities, he's going to thrive with them.
And, that's as I look away off camera right now, a little peek behind the curtain there. I wanted to look at Gabriel Davis's snaps from his rookie year. So rookie year of 2020, 872 total snaps, 665 last year. So he's gotten significant work even going back to his rookie year, and he got that spot duty. And I really think what's interesting here with Khalil Shakir is, and again, obviously we're going to dive into the film, but he's got such an interesting skill set. Like you mentioned, like that gadgetry piece, but also like the route running nuance that he has and the release package. And he's got some size to him. Like he almost can take away snaps from like everyone.
Yeah.
Like if Cole Beasley was still here, like he could take some snaps from Beasley. He could also take some snaps from McKenzie. He could also take some snaps from Gabriel Davis. But now that it's Crowder and McKenzie, I think it's less about how many snaps will he take away and more of what does his timeline potentially look like? Because I
Yeah.
see someone in Jamison Crowder who in the last 5 years, so again, for reference, Cole Beasley last year had 738 snaps in a banged up year for him.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's been a pretty good median for him in his time in Buffalo, where he saw usually around like 700, 800 snaps in a year. The last 5 years, Jamison Crowder has passed 700 snaps only once, and he's only passed 600 snaps twice in that same 5 year time span. Last year, he had 538. 2020, he had 593. 2019, he had 801. 2018, he had 428. He had more snaps in his rookie year, but he's been up and down with injury
Yeah.
concerns. He's missed some time,
Mhm.
and so what I think is interesting with this piece is because I like the Crowder piece, but I feel like even when healthy, if he owns that position, you're still going to get some Shakir work. You're still going to get some Isaiah McKenzie work. But between Shakir's skill set and the potential injury history of Jamison Crowder, unfortunately rearing its ugly head again, I think you could legitimately see a situation where by late-ish November, you're seeing Khalil Shakir starting to creep towards more of like the 50% like snap
Yeah.
share at that slot receiver role because he's so versatile and because of
Yeah.
what he can offer. And in that case, Kendall, if you do you start to see Khalil Shakir as this year progresses in his rookie year, do you start to see him becoming more of a factor in this offense as we move towards, the playoffs and into the playoffs for the Bills? And if so, who do you think kind of gets not phased out, but who do you think loses snaps in order for him to see the field?
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head saying how he can kind of wear multiple hats and he kind of fits in an area in between what Crowder and McKenzie do. He's
Yeah.
got a little bit of both of what they do. So I think automatically he's going to spell and take away snaps from both of them if he is thrust into that role
Mm,
come winter time. I think those are the two players that he would take away from. I don't see him taking snaps away from Diggs or Davis, but I
no.
think he is going to be a complementary piece in that wide receiver room going forward. And I think, yeah, at the back end of this 2022 season, I think that's when you could really start seeing an impact from him because we know how McDermott handles rookies. He's not
Yeah.
going to be thrust into the third wide receiver role right away, unless, like you said, barring Crowder's just putrid and
Yeah.
Shakir just fantastic. Like it's going to take something like that to get him thrust into a starting slot role. But I think as the year progresses, I wouldn't say he's going to be a bona fide weapon for the offense, but I think he's going to be a nice ancillary piece that you can depend
Mm.
on in spot duty.
I like that a lot. That ancillary piece. That's a really good comment from you there. I think that chess piece action for him is
Yeah.
where really his value comes in 2022. Being able to put him into multiple personnel groupings, multiple alignments, being able to run multiple looks and multiple plays out of a variety of sets, and being able to truly stay fluid and multiple on offense because of what he offers. I think what's an interesting piece that kind of throws a wrench in things for him is we know Sean McDermott likes to whoever is the primary returner, he likes that to almost
Mm,
be like a position just for them. You're not going to be like
yeah.
RB2 and the kick returner. You're not going to be, or the returner in general, you're not going to be wide receiver 3 and the returner. So I wonder if Shakir wins the return job, does that lessen some of the impact he has on the actual offensive side of the ball, not because he's not progressing, but because of how McDermott traditionally has liked to
Hmm.
silo the returner position from seeing actual snaps on the field? And then if that's the case, what does that do? Obviously for him, how does that shake up the rest of the offense and playing time
Hmm.
for McKenzie? But
Hmm.
also someone, it was mentioned in the chat, Marcus Stevenson, who looked actually pretty good in the preseason when
Right.
it came to return jerseys. He housed that one against Chicago while he like pulled a hamstring on the play or hurt his foot, like
Yeah.
just
Yep.
unreal. Um, he's somebody who, if he wins the return job, okay, he's probably not seeing a real role on this offense unless something drastic happens anyway.
Right.
So if he wins the return job, you don't even have to worry about that. But I say all that to say I like Stevenson at returner. Shakir's electric with the ball in his hands,
He
and
is.
he's a good return man. That goes back all the way to high school. There's high school tape of him just being electric in the kick return game and punt return game. He saw some return duty in college. He's got some familiarity there. He's comfortable with the ball in his hands. I could see him winning that job, and I want him to win that job. But then also there's the part of me that doesn't want him to win it because I
Yep.
don't want him to get put into that box and put into that silo. But again, if he's wide receiver 4, maybe that's okay. But then again, I wonder if he's killing it on offense and it's like, well, now he's starting to creep up into the wide receiver 3 type of
Then
world.
does someone else have to take the return gig?
Yeah, so many moving pieces with that. And I think that's an interesting thing to keep an eye on because it's been talked about. Like, he can do some return pieces. He can function in the return game. But then it's like, well, if he does it knock him out of seeing snaps on offense? That's something to keep an eye on too. And I think that's my biggest thing with Marcus Stevenson, how he factors in.
Yeah, it's really good that you brought Stevenson into the mix here. And I think the same could be said for McKenzie as well, in terms of, finding a guy that can just be the returner and you don't have to worry about like injury overlap or anything like that. You're relying on this guy to be your slot wide receiver, and all of a sudden he gets injured in a return or on a offensive play, and suddenly you don't have a returner, or suddenly you don't have your number 3 wide receiver. And I think that's the reason McDermott does what he does with that position. But you're missing out on the versatility. You're missing out on the roster space efficiency and all of that stuff. So I hope with a player as versatile as Shakir, if he's good enough to be wide receiver 4, and he's good enough to win return duties, let him do both. You have multiple players on the roster or that can make the roster that are capable of filling in at returner if Shakir were to go down, or multiple people to fill in at wide receiver 4 if Shakir were to go down in these situations. Knock on wood, of course. But that's what a Marcus Stevenson and Isaiah McKenzie are still on the roster to be. They are, I don't want to say insurance policies, but all 3 of them, Shakir, Stevenson, McKenzie, they all have return capabilities. They all have capabilities to be some sort of role in the wide receiver room. Whatever it is still up for debate, but they all provide insurance for one another. So I hope that gives McDermott enough confidence to be versatile with those 2 areas of the team.
Majority of kickoffs nowadays anyway are touchbacks anyway. So most of the time you're just back there and you're just like, oh, it's over my head. I'm going to put my arms out because it's going to be a touchback. Yeah, so we'll see how that affects things. I did want to answer. I was going to say add, and then I said answer. Ned's question here. Ned says, first off, good evening to you, Ned. You are fantastic. You're always here supporting us and joining us live. Ned says, has the bar for McKenzie as a returner been set too high in the past? Couldn't we say he's been above average and consistent? I'll say this for Isaiah McKenzie. And Kendall, if you have any thoughts, feel free. When the ball is in his hands, he's electric. He's got burst. He's fun. I am very, very cautious in his decision-making and ball security when it comes to the return game. It's more than just the fumbling piece. It's knowing when to fair catch, when to let the ball bounce, how to read the rotation of the ball in the air, how many bounces is it going to take, what does that extra yardage look like if you decide to let it go and not catch it, and then the actual act of making the right catch, handling it, not muffing it, catching it, running, not fumbling. I question him in that mental side of the return game. And at this point, as he gets closer to 30, which he is now, I think he kind of is what he is when it comes to that return game piece. When the ball's in his hands, I think he's fun and he's electric. But when the ball's in the air, I question things and I get a little angsty and I kind of sit up on my seat and I'm just like what's going to happen here? And I don't think that's a me thing at all. I think
I have nothing to add. I literally have nothing to add because everything you said was spot on what I would have said. It's the decision making. It's when the ball is in the air, because we all know what McKenzie is when he has the ball in his hands.
Yeah, when it's in his hands, he's tremendous. And I appreciate you, Ned. Ned says that's fair, and judgment sometimes is lacking. And yeah, that's that piece. And especially with an offense like this, like the Bills, and a potential defense that the Bills are going to have again this year, you do not want to give any opponent any advantage in any sort of way, shape, or form at all. And the last thing you want to do is give up a possession for Josh Allen or give the opposing offense a short field. You cannot have turnovers in special teams. You need that consistent baseline. And I just think he's too up and down. The ups are fantastic, but the downs almost not even balance it out. They almost drop those positives into the negatives because of how impactful they can be, considering what you're out there to do combined with how it affects the rest of this team and how good this team is. You can't have an Achilles heel out there or any type of deficiency when it comes to ball security or decision making in the return game. So that's where McKenzie sits for me. But we transition now to the film piece of Khalil Shakir. And before we dive right into the full clips and the full game tape, Kendall, we have a really cool piece to lead in things here with Shakir talking about the illusion of speed.
Yeah, so I will play it right for you guys. It is a very interesting piece on how he talks about how he may not be the fastest dude testing-wise, but how he uses the illusion of speed, as Ant put it, and he puts it in this little clip here as a way to get open. And it's very interesting, so pay attention here.
So how are you going to get open and run by people who run 4.2s and 4.3s?
That starts with the finesse in the game. Like, it just depends on, all right, this safety over top of me ran a 4.2. And I'm like, I definitely don't run a 4.2, but at the end of the day, you know, one, what's the play? What's my route? How am I going to stem off the ball to make him think that I'm doing something else? Also, at the end of the day, game speed is a lot faster. But as a receiver, I feel like you're not really running your routes like 1,000 miles per hour because it's a very small amount of people who are running 1,000 miles per hour that can just stop on the dime. So it's showing the illusion of speed as well. So, and he's in the back pedal, so that he's already at a disadvantage when I'm coming off the ball. I'm showing him that I'm, you know, booking it, and he gonna have to respect that. So once he open up, that's where, you know, I could, depending on my stem and stuff like that, kind of working within there. Then I see him make that one false step, you know, open up, then boom, I'm going the other direction. You know, showing the illusion of speed and showing him, you know, that I'm gonna go left, but I'm really gonna go right. I actually learned that from Anquan Bolden. He was big on the illusion of speed. He showed us Julio Jones ran a post corner, and it looks like he's moving. They asked us how fast you think he's running, and everybody's like 18 miles per hour, 19 miles per hour. He was running 13.1 miles per hour. But he completely broke off the corner and ran, you know, and we're like, for me, I'm like, that's mind blowing because I've been taught like go, 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 you know what I'm saying? Like, but it's a way to do that and a way to go about it, when, especially when, depending on your route, the way you're supposed to be doing it. A lot of guys are just taking off going, but we're getting out of our brakes so much slower. So his whole thing was getting it down to the T as far as steps, and also like understanding when to run full speed, when to slow it down a bit, and things like that.
So how are you?
I absolutely love that clip, and
It's awesome.
we wanted to use, it is awesome, and we wanted to use that to introduce the film footage as we started to go into, because one of the major pieces for Khalil Shakir is just how smart he is from a football intelligence and a football IQ perspective. And you can understand that the more you start to watch his tape, the more you start to watch his film. And he does several of the pieces that he talked about there.
Literally,
see him literally. Like I mentioned in a tweet, I think the day after the draft or a day after he was picked or the week after, he sells defenders on so many possibilities and things. He sells them on everything but what he's going to do with his feet, his eyes, his body language, his shoulder lean, his pacing, the multiple gears. He is such a craftsman when it comes to running routes. And when you hear him speak on it, it's easy to understand how he's able to function like that physically on the field because of how he's able to connect those dots mentally. He's one of those guys who the Bills have continued to bring these players in who hone their craft. We've talked about it so much with Von Miller. Khalil Shakir is very much in that mold. He is like a professional wide receiver already before he comes in because of how he approaches the game and how he understands it.
Yeah, that's what's so intriguing. You bring up Von Miller, and I can't help but think about like Gabe Davis, especially with how he's been highlighted this offseason through Bills Embedded. Just that work ethic, that drive, the understanding, of course, but the work ethic and the drive to constantly self-improve, self-scout thyself, and get better at every touch point. And he shows that. Like everything he said in there, it was so funny. You can see it on tape. Everything he described, he doesn't just know how to like think about it, but he also knows how to act on it. And he shows every single bit that he talked on. Like the quote that I picked from it is, how am I going to stem my route to make the DB think I'm doing something that I'm not going to do?
That was the one that hit me because that's part of that. Like he sells people on if he's going out, he's selling you like he's going in, and you're believing it. You're like, oh, okay, I guess he's going in, and then you're like, oh crap, he went out.
And that misdirection piece, we'll get into it. That misdirection piece of, oh, I'm stemming this way, or oh, I'm releasing this way, but I'm actually going to run the route this way. That misdirection piece doesn't even go into his route running. It also goes into the way he runs with the football. He's very misdirective. Like he doesn't show his hand at any portion of when he's running his route, when he has the ball in his hand. He is a very sneaky, sudden, quick, crafty player. There's no other way to put it. And because of how mentally with it he is already, and like you said, like he's shown like he is a professional. He attacks the game in the right way. That's why I think we both have a very high floor for him right away, and we're confident in what he can be right away. The question now will be, what is he going to show us in his rookie year? And then based on that, then we can start to project what his ceiling could be once he's facing his peers in the NFL. But that's the intriguing part, really. A 5th round pick with this kind of floor and then the athleticism to match, it's very intriguing.
You know what's also nice too, that's an underrated piece in this, that's kind of be the last thing, and we'll dive right into the film for everyone. I like that there is a quarterback too who is adept at throwing the football all over the place, like Case Keenum, because in the preseason, when Shakir's going to be getting that work, he'll be getting opportunities to catch the football. This is not going to be like, well, the quarterback two is more legs and more mobile, and so we're not really going to see too many opportunities for him. Like, he's going to get a chance to potentially flourish and see targets in the preseason with, granted, it's against second team guys and third team guys, and it's not with the starters on either side of the ball, so on and so forth. But it'll be nice to see what he brings in game action kind of right off the bat, because we know the starters don't play a ton, especially now in the preseason with the shortened season. It's nice that the Bills have a backup quarterback who's functional in the passing part of being a quarterback. So he's going to get some opportunities to really showcase himself, in addition to what he'll be able to do in practice and training camp and all those things. But we'll be able to get like a good view of him come preseason. It's not going to be any wondering and be like, well, you know, the backup went in and the Bills only passed it 3 times. Like, he's going to get an opportunity to shine, and hopefully he can bring some of that tremendous game footage that we're going to dive into, because some of the stuff he does is real sexy, real nice. And just, again, it's why you said it perfectly, why we have that high floor for him, because of what he's already bringing to the NFL.
I love that point though, of what Case Keenum is going to bring for him. I think that's a fantastic point with, you know, backups. You got to allow these young guys to develop, and you're doing your team a disservice if you're not giving them quality reps in the preseason. So I think that's an excellent point. But we will jump right into the tape now, and we're going to start with some of his Senior Bowl stuff, which is actually very valuable. Obviously, it's one-on-one stuff, so it's going to be easy for him to get open. You know, in a vacuum, this is easier for the wide receiver than it is the DB, but it is very valuable in the sense that on tape, there weren't a lot of moments where you could see his release package and you could see what he was doing against press coverage. And right here, we got multiple clips of him showing that release package. So I want to make sure we highlight that thoroughly and show how crafty he is. Like, at every moment through these clips, you can see how he is setting up these wide receivers, and we'll break each one of these down a little bit more, but I wanted to run through and just show how quick the footwork is, how sudden he is, how smart he is when he's setting up these guys and understanding, okay, I should be decisive here. No, maybe I should misdirect here. He knows when to pick and choose his battles and when to do which. The one
I love that one on Petrie. He just freezes them on that out and just.
This one on Petrie, I love, because
the red zone
Petrie slides inside on him, and he knows to just get decisive. That's why I love this one. He loses the leverage battle right away, and he just knows, okay, I got to get decisive with it. He's already inside of me. And then he uses his hands to keep his body clean. You see the quickness, the acceleration, and he gets right by him. So I particularly love that one. You said you like the first one on Petrie?
Yes.
That's
because he gets him. Look how he stalls at the top of this route here and gets Petrie to freeze just a little bit. And then he does, boom, done. Petrie he goes to reach a little bit just to get his hands on him. And as he does that, Shakir's like, cool, peace. And just bang, in a heartbeat. Look at that separation that quickly in that short amount of space. And I like the red zone one versus Petrie too, like you mentioned, because again, like, he shouldn't have won inside. Like, the defensive back has got inside leverage on you. Like, once they establish that, like, you shouldn't be able to win in that way. But, you know, it's great seeing, first of all, like, shout out again to the Senior Bowl. Like, we talked about it and covered it this past offseason. But for those of you watching now, like, Senior Bowl is a tremendous piece for prospect evaluation and really seeing what guys are going to be like at the next level. You have so much quality talent, and you get a lot of guys that being given the opportunity to prove themselves against other top end talent. And from a Bills perspective as well, the Bills have a heavy history of drafting players who went to the Senior Bowl, Josh Allen included, Khalil Shakir included. They go to that well very often. They like guys who perform at the Senior Bowl. And also you get the opportunity to interview these players. It's like an additional combine week, basically, with a game at the end of it and guys proving themselves. So if you're not already familiar with the Senior Bowl, make sure you check it out next year. And if you are familiar with it, get more familiar with it because it's tremendous. And all these one-on-one drills, the receivers should win most of them. You know, a cornerback being in one-on-one coverage like this on an island with literally the entire field for the receiver to operate with, they're at a significant and severe disadvantage. But again, what you're seeing with everything from Shakir is the feet, the hips, the eyes, the body language, the suddenness, the shiftiness, also the hands. You're seeing that nuance piece. He's not just winning because, well, I mean, he had all this space and he just ran to the space. He's setting defenders up. He's winning with technicality. And that, again, that translates because you're not always going to be the biggest. You're not always going to be the fastest. You're not always going to be the strongest. So can you win with your technique when you're beaten out in one of those other physical and tangible areas? Shakir can. And again, this is top talent that he was competing against in the Senior Bowl, and it's just nice to see how he wins every single time. His feet and just that release package, like you said, the feet, the hands, the ability to stay clear and stay clean in a variety of ways, it's really impressive.
Yeah, the thing through this entire, I guess, cut up of clips here from the Senior Bowl, there's just no wasted movements. There's no wasted steps. Everything he's doing has a purpose.
Yes.
It's always with a purpose. It's either to cause misdirection or it's to be decisive and get to your spot quickly. There is no wasted movement. It's all with a purpose. And that's what's so exciting about him. I mean, I think there are people that say, okay, he's just 4.43 speed guy. He's not a big guy. He's not a true burner. He's just kind of above average in all areas, but not necessarily great in all areas. And people kind of pigeonhole him to this slot receiver type of stuff. But when you see this release package and when you hear Brandon Beane talk about how, yeah, he'll probably be a slot receiver, but we think he could live on the outside a little bit if he has to. This is what you turn to. The ability to beat press in those situations helps you live on the outside. The ability to beat press and then stack those corners and get on top of them with that 4.43 speed. Yeah, it's not burner speed, but when you can get them to get out of their comfort space, when you can get the DB out of position, that's how you win on the outside. So I think this shows that, yeah, he'll probably be best in the slot, but he doesn't need to be pigeonholed there. He shows some versatility.
I mean, to your point, in his career, 34.1% of his receiving snaps came out wide. And when you watch the Boise State tape, he was that guy in any way, inside, outside, who was the guy who went and got them a bucket. Like if they would put him outside in one-on-one and it was just like, yo, just go get open, and he would get open and he won outside. So again, I think with his stature, his most of his success will come in the slot, but I am very intrigued to see what he offers on the outside as he progresses because of that route running piece, his intelligence, his football IQ, and that release package. I think he has an opportunity to succeed out there. And to John's point here, he says, is it just me or does Shakir seem very solidly built? He is. I mean, he's 6 feet, he's 196 pounds, but he's a thick 196. Yes, he's not frail, he's not skinny. He's on the
look at his legs
side.
In this clip.
Yeah,
like
he's powerful.
He's thick. He's thick.
He's powerful. And you see it in his burst off the line, and you also see it in his run after the catch ability. Like when he gets the ball in his hands, he functions like a running back, which again is why Boise State gave him wildcat carries and regular halfback carries and looks out of the backfield. Like he's tough, he competes, and he's got the frame that can hold up because he's strong and he's got some thickness to him in that frame. And when you add it up with the quickness and the nuance, it's a lot of things to like when it comes to Mr. Khalil Shakir. And now we dive into the game tape of said Khalil Shakir.
Yeah, so on this first one here, we're going to see him in the slot. He's the most inside slot guy here. And it's not, I mean, he's not being leveraged to one side or the other. It looks like it's fairly balanced on this. It's being played helmet to helmet. But the way he sets up this route and the way he attacks the leverage, like he creates leverage where there is none. This is truly balanced right off the snap, but he attacks the inside knowing that this is going to be an outbreaking route. And he attacks the inside shoulder of this defender. And the second he shows that he's going to attack inside, the defender goes with him, he breaks it outside. And that's something that he talked about. He talked about
Yes.
over and over in that first illusion of speed clip. That's the point here. Not only does he know how to think about it, he knows how to act on it. He talked about he wants to get them in a bad position. And once he gets them in that bad position, that false step, you win. You're in the winning position. And he shows it here because he breaks it out and he gets very decisive with that break, but he creates separation, and you can see it there perfectly on the end zone camera. You can see him attack the inside of the field. He gets the defender to go inside, and right as he sees that false step, he breaks it out, and that's where he creates the separation. And that's what we call nuance in route running.
You know, one of my favorite analogies, I love to talk about the whole, like, if you're a pitcher, can you actually pitch? And what do you do when your fastball's not there in secondary and tertiary pitches and all that kind of stuff? But listening to him talk about the mental side of being a route runner and being a receiver, it sounds like a crafty veteran pitcher talking about how to pitch, the actual act of like pitching and not just throwing 98 and throwing gas nonstop. And like you mentioned, you hit all the highlights on this one. I just love how, again, he sets him up inside. He knows where he's going. And this is going to maybe sound obvious to people, but the receiver knows where he's going. The defender does not. So what do you do to make that defender think you are going to do the opposite? And then can you execute on it? And Shakir he sets him up beautifully. The timing, like you can see it right there on that end zone angle. Right when he gets to the top of that stem, you see the defender start to go inside. Like he's like, oh, okay, this is going to be like a post or an over. Like this is going inside. And right when he goes right there, he just starts to lean a little bit. He just gives the slight step and the slight lean with his body, that defender. And what does Shakir do? As soon as he sees it, he pounces on it, cuts, plants, gets outside. And then you see it a little bit. That hand usage, we talk about it a lot with him. He shows it in a variety of ways, whether at the line of scrimmage or in various parts of the route stem. You see him use those hands to stay clean and stay clear, very similar to how an edge rusher or a defensive tackle does when they're coming on the line of scrimmage. You know, boom, you highlighted it right there. You got the yellow up, a little telestration action going on there. You see him stay clear with his hand usage. One of my favorite things in talking with Brandon Thorne on Twitter, who's an amazing follow, he talks about how the defensive back receiver battles with hand technique often mirror offensive line, defensive line battles because you're trying to use that same hand technique in a variety of ways. And here it's Shakir who is on offense, but he's kind of functioning like a defender, using those hands to stay clean and stay clear. And then he's got the lower body explosiveness. He's got that burst to get out of his break nice and clean. And just look how open he is like that. And that's not open because like, well, he's in college and somebody blew an assignment or this is schemed up. Like, no, he won. He beat his man one-on-one. And yes, this is college talent and college opponents, so on and so forth. You can talk about the conference, talk about who the player was guarding him, yada, yada. But what he's doing is sustainable. This is a sustainable thing because he's reading hips. He's reading body language. He is manipulating his defender and then pouncing and taking advantage. That is a very sustainable thing. And the fact that, again, that he's a fifth-round guy doing this, kudos to him falling in that fifth round.
Yeah, this is the high floor thing. It's that sustainable model of creating separation. When you show nuance, that is the most sustainable and translatable form of separation from the college level to the pro level. So that another reason why we have that high floor.
Kendall, one of the heroes from the fantasy draft episode, Poof Magoo, joining us tonight and saying that he's pumped by the Shakir pick and he doesn't know how the Bills got him. He's coming to a great situation where he can learn before he's expected to contribute right away. Solid and absolutely spot on from Poof Magoo. But what I want to know from you, Magoo, is how is he doing in Madden? Like, are you using him? Like, how's he functioning? Like, you were that Madden guru behind the scenes in that fantasy draft episode that we did this past Sunday. So let us know the Madden thoughts as well. But appreciate you joining us and giving some love to the Bills and Mr. Khalil Shakir. Now, part of again, talking about Shakir and where he fits, we wanted to show some comparable pieces to current Buffalo Bills players, and that's where this next clip comes in.
Yeah, so Eric found this great clip to compare what Shakir does, and you'll see it on the next 2 plays, maybe even 3 plays, where he actually shows some similarities to Gabe Davis in regard to body control. And you'll see it in these next 2 plays. They're both going to be dig routes. And on this one, you're going to see the ball is thrown behind Gabe Davis, but he goes ahead, he makes the play very solid. He's very confident in his hands, despite the throw being behind him, makes the catch sure-handedly, but he transitions very well, and there's no wasted movements. He transitions from that catch into a ball carrier, something we talk about right there, right back into stride, highlighted so wonderfully by Eric. Ghost Eric here.
I was going to say he's with us even when he's not here.
But it's something we talk about all the time with running backs. You know, the ability to transition from pass catcher back into running back. And that's something you want to see from your wide receivers as well, because that's how you're going to get run after the catch. And you see it here from Gabe Davis. The ball isn't placed in a perfect position. You see it thrown behind Gabe Davis. He makes a sure-handed catch, hips turn with it, and he's right back into it. Transition,
Beautiful.
Run after the catch.
So athletic. So athletic. And again, that's not an easy thing. Like, you're running full speed. You have to adjust mid-route, reach behind you, catch, and then get your body back in line. Like, there's no wasted motion. There's no slowing down. There's no pitter patter. Like, he just seamlessly turns. Like, that's a big boy play from an NFL receiver. And now, I guess the question for the people watching, like, oh, if I'm watching this, like, does Khalil Shakir do this? Would this be a thing that maybe he does?
And this just perfect segue. Way to do it. Way to do it, man. So here he is. Here he is, inside slot, man. And he's going to be running a dig, same route, different concept, but same route. And you'll see a very similar idea. Ball is thrown behind him, and he's confident with that, with the hands. He's confident hands catcher, and he, once again, there's Eric right back into stride and swings the hips. He swings the hips confidently, and there's no wasted movement. It's just fluid right back into running with the football. And you can see the football isn't placed in a great area. Like, you can see he's truly extending to make this grab. And I'm pretty sure, I think it's sub 29-inch arms that Shakir has. So it's not like he's a super long arm guy. So this is an impressive play for him to go ahead and stab at this football, makes the play. But yeah, like Eric highlighted here, that's the similarity on these 2 plays. Not only is it the strength to go ahead and make this catch behind you while you're running in the opposite direction, but also how you transition back into a ball carrier. And of course, he's just so difficult to tackle.
1,000%. I'm also very encouraged by the fact that Boof Magoo says he got him to an X factor by year 2, and he's the Bills starting slot. His acceleration in yak is awesome. So I'm very encouraged by that news, because madness life. It's, again, this is something I think maybe goes by the wayside for most people, but this is a thing to help your quarterback out. One, to bail him out for a bad throw by being able to reach back and make an athletic play and snatch that ball out of the air. But 2, again, that athleticism piece, that run after catch piece, something that the Bills offense has been lacking in their weaponry to a bit. And now some of that is based on the scheme and the route running, and maybe we'll see it open up a little bit with Ken Dorsey as the play caller in OC this year. But this is a real nice, smooth, athletic play. And you even see him start to get some burst. And then even when the defender gets his hands on him, you see him, he doesn't go down on contact. He continues to go through. He continues to carry that defender. You're not going to see him go down. You're not going to see him just be like, oh, well, I already got 15 yards. I'm cool. Like, he's either trying to run through someone, he's trying to run around them, he's trying to juke, he's trying to get lower than them. Like, you just see consistent effort and competition from him whenever the ball is in his hands. And it's nice to know that even when you're not on point, you can still make a play. Like, this is an area that we even saw from Josh last year a couple times. Like, Josh's accuracy and anticipation have grown so much, but every once in a while, even the best of the best, they make an inaccurate throw. Can you bail your quarterback out? But then more importantly, can you bail your quarterback out and still make something positive out of it, like Shakir does?
And this is like almost spot on identical. Like, these last 2 plays from Shakir, obviously different route here. It's more of a bender route on this one, but you still get the same action where, okay, throw is behind him. He's hands catching it very strongly, but he's flipping his hips around, makes that strong catch and transition back into a runner. It's so similar to that Davis play, so similar to that last one that we just showed you, but it's the same idea where he's confident in his hands. He has the athleticism to turn with the football, use that momentum to keep moving forward and transition back into a ball carrier and get some yards after the catch.
Yeah, the end zone angle is my favorite for this one, just
Yeah.
because you've got that action shot of seeing him literally reach back, snatch the ball out of midair, and like as Eric mentioned again, catches it with his hands. But what I like is you see that technical piece again. He reaches back, you see him snatch it out of the air, he tucks it right away. There's no wasted motion, there's no fumbling around with the ball. Picks it clean out of the air, tucks it immediately, gets it into his chest, tucks it under his arm, and then you see the reaction and the move to get another couple yards after the play. Again, athleticism, technicality, toughness. What's interesting with some of these, we showed 2 really good catches from him this year. He had a bunch of drops in 2021. He had 10.
Specifically in 2021,
yes,
which
is crazy. He had 10 drops in 2021, which equals the total amount of drops he had in the 3 years prior. So some interesting, I think a lot of it was concentration drops and maybe trying to get ahead of himself a little bit too much. But I think holistically throughout his career, reliable pass catcher, good hands, some anomaly things in 2021. Didn't really have a track record of it, but you can see from plays like these, like he's got good hands. They're strong, they're soft. Like you can just watch him snatch the ball right out of the air.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing to hit home because we talked about it in our breakdown right after the draft, how weird it was, we saw it on tape in the few games that we had. Like there were some drops in those games, but there were also moments where he's making crazy catches like this. And it's like, what are we supposed to believe? Is there just a lot of variance in what he's doing with his catches? Is he just a high variance catcher, or is this just an anomaly, like you said? So I think that is important to mention. I think it's more of an anomaly, more of the concentration drops type of things, because you see the consistency more than you see the inconsistency. So it's definitely a good thing to hit home for sure.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good way to put it. You see more of the consistent, like the right things than you do the wrong things.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, I mean, this isn't baseball. You're not failing more than you're succeeding, but you're
that's always a wild thing to me, that if someone's like a 300 hitter, it's like, dude, you're doing good. Amazing. And it's like, you're failing 7 times, but you're killing it, man. It's so wild.
That's where my pessimism stems from. I was a baseball player first.
That's where it comes. So that's also maybe why like baseball players set the bar too low. It's like, what do you mean I failed that test? I got a 30%. I'm doing great. If I do that on the field, I'm crushing it. It's like, it doesn't work like that out here.
Nope, not in real life. Nope. All right, so this next one here, another example of body control, I guess another example of some Gabe Davis comparisons. I'm not going to comp him to Gabe Davis, but the way he makes catches on the
Khalil
sideline.
Shakir is Gabriel Davis, confirmed. And
hey, if he makes a sideline catch, he's Gabe Davis.
I'm going to snippet that part and edit it so it looks like you said Khalil Shakir is Gabriel Davis, and then I'm going to use that as promo and be like, and at you and be like, Kendall says.
I did it to myself. There's no one to blame but myself.
You look internally. It's your own fault.
All right. So on this play, I find this play really interesting because it almost looks like he kind of amended this route a little bit. I don't know if this is exactly how it was intended to be run, but I'll go back after I let it play through and show you why I think it could be amended to an extent. But it really stems from the fact that the DB bails out so decisively at the time of the snap. And by doing that, it creates natural separation for Shakir, right? It creates a natural buffer between that DB and Shakir. And he knows he's going to break out at some point, or maybe it's going to be a slot fade, whatever it is. And because he has that separation, he knows to pace his route, because if he goes any faster, he's reducing that natural separation. If he runs any faster, he's right here, and you lose 3 yards of separation on that. So he paces his route a little bit and he slows it down, and he just kind of goes to where the spacing is. He finds the spacing in the defense and he makes himself available for his quarterback. And luckily, because he went so slow, it actually created an opportunity for the quarterback because the snap wasn't so great. So it's kind of twofold. It kind of worked out in that way. But then, of course, he just makes a miraculous sideline catch, shows that body control, not only with the hip fluidity on those catches behind him, but also on a back shoulder fade type of throw. I mean, this isn't so much a fade, but it's a back shoulder throw on the sideline, and you see him make a strong hands catch here. Anthony, I'll let you run through this play, and then I'll get the end zone angle for it with the broadcast end zone angle.
No, you hit most of it. I always wonder when like watching this game and this play, like, was this supposed to be an out or something different? But then, yeah, based on the coverage of the defender, he kind of, because no one ever just like goes upfield and then kind of turns with their inside leg and kind of like slow turns it out. Like I think he just goes and finds space and almost to your point, like a slot fade and back shoulder throw type aspect. But again, it's a nice piece of just him recognizing what the defender's doing, how he needs to adjust in order to not ruin the space that he's been given. And instead he gears down a bit, uses, like he talked about in that first clip that we showed here, uses that pacing, uses those different gears to stay open and create that separation. And then he just attacks the open grass, which is blue on this field. And then you get a really nice toe tap down there with the 1 foot at the end. And this is the real beautiful angle. Like you see nice hands catch again. And then he gets that foot down, college rules. So 1 foot counts. Just, nice adjustment on the fly. Nice, again, football IQ, get yourself open, find the open space, bail your quarterback out again. But it's just, again, he can win technically and on script, or he can win off and adjust on the fly.
Right.
And a lot of it comes from, again, that understanding of football and just his functional intelligence. I wanted to bring up this quote that Ned pulled real quick. So again, Ned, thank you for joining us. And thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate you. Ned says, I found a PFF article that quotes Shakir as saying, I rarely get called by my name, Khalil. It'll be Shaq or Deuce, but I like Swiss because my girlfriend's mom sent me a Swiss Army knife. And then Ned says, is that appropriate? I think Swiss is a cool nickname considering how versatile he is.
Yeah.
He's just dope. Whatever he wants to be called. You know what? I don't care. Swiss is pretty sweet though, especially because how versatile he is. Like, it's, first of all, it's unique, and second of all, like, it's very apropos considering his skill set and how he plays. Nice pull, Ned.
Yeah.
Good contribution. Well done.
Yeah, that is good. I hope that sticks. I kind of want to call him Swiss.
Sweet.
I like
that. Would be sweet. Again, I like that previous clip too. Just like, again, even using his body positioning to kind of separate from the defender and shield the defender and almost box them out a little bit with that spacing and his positioning. So again, another piece of nuance, another piece of quality in a variety of ways.
And here we're going to show more of that versatility. And this is where we're going to start getting into the areas of how he's a menace with the ball in his hands. And this is a play that really makes me wonder, is he going to push Isaiah McKenzie for the gadgetry of this offense? Is he going to start taking away from McKenzie in that way, where we're wondering, is he going to take away from Crowder? Is he going to take away from McKenzie? Is he going to take away from Stevenson on kick return? They could all be true. And that's why he's Swiss. But either way, I find this play really cool because of how he's attacking the second level of the defense, how he's attacking the blocking and allowing everything to develop. You can see it on the jet motion here. He's very decisive about how he gets upfield because he sees the edge setter. The cornerback is setting the edge very, very wide, and he's decisive to get upfield quickly, stay inside of that edge setter, but also stay outside of this blocker. And it's a very, very well angled run by him. And he gets up the field quickly, shows that good contact balance to avoid the first tackle and stay upright, keep his momentum about him. But then also, he's touched at the 6-yard line as he's about to get tackled, and he still makes his way into the end zone for the touchdown. He is so difficult to tackle, and that's something that I really love about his game, because he does truly turn into a running back once he has the ball in his hands.
This is such a beautiful play to highlight that. He, you mentioned, again, like not getting too far outside and being able to cut it up back inside and puncture the defense. Like that's a running back move, to be able to understand the leverage of the defense and the leverage of the defenders and being able to feel that and when to cut and when to stop stretching it, when to getting it and when to get it back inside and get back north and south and get upfield. And you see it routinely. Like if you didn't know that Khalil Shakir was a wide receiver, and if you started this play from right here, right, you would think, oh, this is a running back who got the ball on a toss or a little pitch, because of how he runs and the cuts that he makes. Like you see the angle, you see him understanding where the alley is. You highlighted it there. Perfect. Like you want to cut off that right inside hip of number 70. You want to get back inside from that free defender who's coming outside, who shut off that outside possibility, but that's fine. Get upfield, avoid the arm tackle, run through the arm tackle, get upfield, finish. I don't want to make the Deebo Samuel comp
I've
because
heard
I
a
feel like
lot of it. Yeah.
you're getting it from a lot of people. And but honestly, in today, you get that with anybody who's the next it guy. Like, how many quarterbacks do we see now that have a good arm? Everybody's like, oh, could they be the next Josh Allen? So
Right.
now
Right.
anytime you get, I mean, Traylon Burks and even Christian
Yeah.
Watson a bit, and now Khalil Shakir, anybody who offers you some running back looks as a wide receiver, anybody who runs really well with a run after catch ability as a receiver, they're immediately going to get that Debo comp. But he's got some functionality to it, and I understand
Yeah.
why that comparison is used. Like, and I love the point that you mentioned of where he gets hit and where he finishes. Like, this easily could have been down at the 5 or the 4 or the 3. Instead, he finishes this run. Like, he finishes everything. And it's nice to have that gadgetry piece that can function in a variety of ways. Like, he's got the shake and the elusiveness to his game and the speed and the agility, but he's also, that's a cool comp, but he's also got that power because he runs like a running back. Like, he's nasty with the ball in his hands. And again, he understands leverage in route running when it comes to spacing and man coverage and zone coverage. And I think it's nice that it makes sense that he also understands how to leverage and win in the running game too, because again, that leverage understanding that translates. He recognizes where spacing is and where his advantages and where his disadvantages are. And then he understands how to play off of them, whether it's the ball in his hands, whether it's a run, whether it's in a route, whether it's once he's caught it and he's getting upfield. You just see that intelligence. Then he's able to tie it together with his athleticism.
And that's a perfect segue into the next play, because that was kind of what I was alluding to from the start, where he understands misdirection. Like, from the most rudimentary of levels, he gets it. He just gets misdirection. He gets how to set up defenders. If we're talking about release, if we're talking about stemming routes, if we're talking about with the ball in his hands, he just knows how to set up defenders to go where he isn't going to go. Because like you said earlier, yeah, sure, it's obvious, but the guy on offense knows where he wants to go. The guy on defense doesn't know where that is.
But it still takes something to be able to get to your spot and not let the defender get there first or beat you.
Exactly. And he absolutely puts this defender on skates. Like, it is awesome how he does this. Obviously, you get the little tunnel screen action, but he's patient enough, like a running back, to allow these blocks to develop. He waits for them to develop. He waits for his guys to get up the field for him. He sets it up towards the bottom of the screen, gets that guy to commit. And once he sees those false steps, he breaks it back towards the top of the screen. And I don't even know where that dude's lunging at this point. He's lost. And of course, Khalil Shakir, this is where obviously he's difficult to tackle in a lot of ways, but he's difficult to tackle because you don't know where he's going to go next. He sets you up in such a nuanced way. And
it's it again, like this type of play. This is the dynamic the Bills offense really hasn't had. Like, they've run some screens, both from a running back perspective and a receiver. Even when you get the ball in Diggs' hands, like, he's electric, but he hasn't gotten a ton of success on these routes. Gabriel Davis isn't really that type of guy. Beasley, hit or miss a little bit here and there. John Brown was probably the best at it because of that speed, that short area burst, and that elusiveness that he possessed. And I think Shakir adds that nice element. Like, just this cut is beautiful. Like, he gets that defender to fully commit inside because of, again, his eyes, his body language, his shoulders, his positioning. And so this defender thinks, oh, okay, he's getting upfield. Psych! And he's just gone. And he's right by him. He completely turns him around. And then, he gets stopped from the pursuit by Wyoming there. But this is, again, another dynamic that he brings to this Bills offense, functioning in that quick screen game because of what he's like when the ball gets in his hands. He can get upfield quickly. He's got that short area burst. He understands how to set up blocks and set up defenders and make them miss. And then not only does he understand that, again, he's got the physical wherewithal to be able to connect all of it together and then execute time and time again. This is another piece that I think is a reason why you'll start to see him see more snaps in certain matchups against certain opponents and maybe even potentially see the lion's share as we go forward. I think that third receiver piece in general is going to be matchup dependent based on what we're going to. Yeah. Like, if you're going to see, are we seeing man coverage this week? Is it going to be single high? Is it going to be too high? How many defenders are they playing in the box? What does their slot corner look like? Do they run big nickel? Do they run 3 linebacker sets? Based on what the defense is going to do, I think you'll see more matchup work between Crowder, McKenzie, and Khalil Shakir. But at the end of the day, either way, Shakir offers a dynamic the Bills do not currently have. Even with McKenzie here, like he's got that jitterbug to him, but he doesn't have that physicality when he runs.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that running back-esque type of movement and setup ability, which isn't a knock against McKenzie. It's just another feather in the cap of Khalil Shakir.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Where's the helmet that they give him?
I don't know why I do these things. Why do I come on here?
Because you run the film.
Yeah, you need my computer.
I do.
All right. We're going back to nuance. We're going back to nuance and separation ability. So on this one, you can see it's kind of you're selling more of a seam deep over kind of route where you're selling more of a vertical aspect to this route. And Shakir gets on the inside shoulder decisively of his defender and he attacks it quickly. And he attacks it upfield while showing verticality. And once he shows that verticality and he shows, yeah, this could be just a deep seam over the middle or a deep over the middle, he gets that guy to get momentum going upfield. And once he feels that momentum, he breaks it off to the inside of the field. And there is massive separation because of that, because of how staunchly he got that momentum going from the DB going up the field. And then he breaks it horizontally. And then furthermore, he feels that defender's pursuit, ducks the tackle, and still gets some extra yards after the catch. Like the way he avoids tackles is so special. It really is. It's not like superstar or anything, but it's just like this crafty veteran feel. It's just, there's so much craftiness to his game. And yeah, it comes in the route running component here, but also like ducking a tackle like this, that's just a very crafty play by him. So you see there's still that run after the catch component from it, but he's able to get the catch in the first place because of how he's attacking that inside shoulder and then attacking vertically, getting the momentum up the field and creating separation on the break of his route, which also goes back to the pacing component. He's able to have a quick break because he paced that stem of the route.
Very well said. And fun fact for everyone, he's hurt in this game.
I was going to say that for the next clip.
Yeah, he doesn't play a ton of snaps. He's banged up, and you would have no idea just from watching the film. You hit everything. I don't want to drill too hard on this play anymore, but I love the end zone angle because it shows him, as he gets to the middle of the field, right when he gets to about like the C in UCF in the middle of the field, you see him start to, boom, gets vertical, and then he can feel the defender because the defender literally has like his hand on his back, and then but he can also feel from like a sense of positioning. He feels where the defender is. And once he feels that defender start to straighten up and get vertical with him, exactly like you said, he breaks it outside and then he separates. And again, you can win. We talked about it with Drake London. You can win at multiple points in the route. You can win at the line of scrimmage. You can win in the stem. You can win at the top of the route, and you can separate at all those places too. Khalil Shakir can do that. He can separate at multiple points. And here's another example again, separating at the top of a route against a defender who has that leverage initially, and then he just erases that leverage and gets himself open. And then, again, just to feel that defender and duck underneath and get upfield again, it's that toughness, it's that craftiness, it's just a lot of pieces that put together to make you really appreciate Khalil Shakir's tape. But again, this one is the route nuance for me. That feeling to be able to understand that leverage and how to attack it and how to win and how to separate, that comes from a lot of prep. That comes from a lot of reps and prep, and it comes from an understanding and feel for the game of football that he has.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. He's just got an innate feel for the game, whether that's, like I said, with the ball in his hands, whether that's just finding ways to get open, whatever it is, he has an innate feel for the game of football, and it's really exciting. All right, so this last one, this is a true rack example. This is the definition of it. We're just going to get a quick drag route here. And I believe it's against zone. So he just kind of gets open at a certain point in this. It's I think that's a zone blitz there. And then he gets open in that window and you see him get the football. But the way he fights through contact, the tenacity and the toughness, but also like the wherewithal to keep your balance and put that hand on the ground to keep the balance and then keep trudging forward while injured, as you mentioned, while injured.
He was only on the field for 21 snaps this game.
On a pitch count, and even with limited opportunities, he shows the athleticism. I was shocked when it was a Boise State account tweeted at me when I posted this clip. They were like, yeah, he was injured in this game. I was like, dude, he had the most juice out of any wide receiver on the team in this game. Like, he was the one that was injured. It was absolutely wild. His contact balance for a wide receiver is special. And that's why I understand the comps to Debo. That's why I understand the diet Debo comps. I get it from that respect, but it is lazy as well. Like, okay, just because he shows this bit of versatility in his game, now we're going to comp him to Debo. But you can understand it when you see plays like this. There's a bit of that flavor to his game, but he's more than just that. He's more than just a versatile chess piece on offense. He presents a lot of different advantages because of how well-rounded his skill set is, not just because of how versatile his skill set is.
Yeah, this is another quarterback-friendly piece. This is one where a quarterback gets credit for a 20-yard touchdown, and he basically threw the ball like 6 yards, 4 yards past the line of scrimmage, and gets credit for a nice, 20-yard TD on this one because of the work that this is the old Jimmy Garoppolo, Deebo Samuel play where it's like, man, Garoppolo threw for 340 yards and 3 touchdowns, and it's like, yeah, like 200 of it was yak. But this is just such a great play here from Shakir. And it's, for me, yeah, it's the effort. It's the willingness. It's, he could have easily just been like, all right, cool, I'll go down here. Oh, I'll go down here. Oh, nope. Like he fights through 2 tackles. And again, where he gets this ball, the defenders have leverage. They're coming top down on him. Like
this one's maybe a slight behind, but this one's got it.
Yes, like that he should be dead to rights. Like there's nothing. He's got nothing. Like he doesn't have the space. He doesn't have the angle. The defenders have all of that. And he changes it in the blink of an eye because of his contact balance, because of his core strength, because of the power that he has, and because of that willingness to just continue to go through contact no matter what. He's one of those guys who he does not go down. You have to put him down.
Yes,
you have to take him down. He's not going to, maybe he'll trip up here and there, but he's not an easy out for anyone ever. And again, like you mentioned, like this is a simple drag route. The quarterback feels the pressure. He's the outlet here. Like he's just like, all right, cool. Like, let me just dump it down and we'll just get some positive yards and, fight another day. And instead Shakir takes us to the house. Like this one isn't the nuance and the technicality. This is, okay, if you're not on point as a defender, if your form and your power that you bring into a tackle, if you're not coming through with the proper form and you're not bringing your feet through the tackle, you're not going to bring down Khalil Shakir because you're not going to get him with your hands. You're not going to get him with the arm tackles. You have to be on point. He even carries that first defender for a little bit. Like the defender gets his chest onto the lower back and butt of Khalil Shakir, that first one who starts to break on it, like he gets on him. Like that's not even a horrible form. That's not even terrible. Shakir just shakes out of it because of his core strength. And also because he's on that shorter side, he's got that lower center of gravity. And this is where we talk about that frame and that stature and how he's built. He's solid for a 6 foot dude. He's not, 6 feet, 177. I mean, even Jameson Crowder is 5'9", 177. Cole Beasley was 5'8", 174. Shakir is 6 feet, 196. He's basically 6 feet, 200 pounds. That's muscle.
Yep.
And you see it in plays like this when he's able to just carry dudes and use their momentum to turn their potential arm tackle or regular tackle in that first defender's case to use it against them and turn it into a negative, break out of it, and then get additional yardage, make positive plays happen for the offense. Again, it's all about what does he offer this team right now and potentially in the future. The Bills haven't had somebody at the receiver position that does this regularly. And Khalil Shakir does. When he gets the ball in his hands, he's a running back. That's a really important piece. That's a really nice dynamic for a team that has a bunch of weapons in a bunch of other areas. And now they add this new dynamic that they haven't had before. It's a really nice piece.
Yeah, it's exciting. I definitely like the fact that you're highlighting it's something the Bills don't have, that ability to get rack after a short completion, just get easy yards for the quarterback, QB friendly, all of that stuff. I think that's a very good point to hammer because it's something that this offense has been missing, that screen ability. Yeah, we saw it on those John Brown audibles. We audible to that John Brown screen and, just easy yards from that. But, you got to get a certain look for that.
Yes.
You see, okay, they're all in off coverage. This is our easy look. We're audibling to this easy money. We got at least 10 yards here with speedy John Brown. But when you have a guy like Shakir, you don't necessarily need that look. You could just call it in the huddle and be like, look, we're running this screen here. We're doing it. Can they stop us? It doesn't matter. Like, we can run this out of any look because we have the horses in the stable to do it.
That's a good way to put it. He's one of those guys who changes the math a little bit. You don't necessarily need a hat on a hat when it comes to the blockers for a screen. Like, you can be like, all right, cool. Well, even if there's a free defender, I trust Shakir that he's going to win. He's going to make a guy miss. That's what separates top end, granted, again, Shakir's a receiver, but that's what separates college running backs from NFL running backs. One of the major things, like, you're not always going to get a free lane in the NFL. You're going to have to make someone miss, whether it's a first level defender, but usually second level, third level defender. Can you make that guy miss? You're going to get set up for a one-on-one opportunity. Can you beat that guy? And that's what Shakir offers you from the receiver perspective. You don't necessarily need to be like, all right, cool. So we're running this screen. All right, we're going to do it to the right. So Gabriel Davis, you have to get this guy. Diggs, you have to get this guy. Spencer Brown has to get out there. Bates has to get out there because there's going to be 4 defenders out there and we need a hat on every hat. We need 4 on 4. No, you can be like, you know what? We can get 3 on 4. And then if that leaves one guy, cool, Shakir's going to beat that guy. And he can beat him in a variety of ways with his, again, the speed, the agility, the power, the toughness, the competitiveness, the contact balance, or just, again, with his functional intelligence, which continues to show time and time again, whether it's, before the snap, at the release point, at the snap, at the catch point, at multiple points in the route stem, top of the route, or in the gadgetry pieces. And again, everything that we showed you tonight in the Cover One film room, these aren't cherry-picked plays.
No.
So we can, be like, well, we want to show this, so let's pick he does this regularly. Like, we could have just played any one of his games and you would have seen these plays over and over again, these types of things and these types of looks, because what we showed tonight is representative of who he is. This is the type of game that he brings. And like we mentioned in tonight's episode, it's something the Bills didn't have before. And it's nice to have this added layer along with potentially 12 personnel with OJ Howard, along with a receiving threat at running back in Mr. James Cook. Like, there's different levels to this offense now and different dynamics that defenses are going to have to prepare for. And that's why we're so high on Khalil Shakir, because of what he potentially unlocks for the rest of this offense and other players and the threat that he poses. And especially once he starts to get going, defenses are going to have to account for him during the week in preparation, but then also on Sundays, or I guess in the Bills case now, Mondays and Thursdays, in order to really account for the threat that he poses, because he poses a consistent threat. And it's just a matter of time before he, really starts to break out. I think, as evidenced by the fact that Kendall wanted a rookie jersey and he wanted somebody who had a good chance of having some sustainable longevity with the Bills. And you see that jersey back there. You see that Khalil Shakir jersey. I think it speaks to, all jokes aside, like, he's got a really, and it's crazy to say this as a 5th round pick. Like, he's got arguably the best chance out of everyone of getting like a second contract and having that longevity piece. Like, and especially because Elam has that 5th year option. Like, you could see a second contract for Shakir before Elam, because they'll cash in that 5th year option. Shakir could be sitting there on a second contract. Like, you've got a real chance for some longevity here at this position. And it's good because, like we've talked about earlier in this offseason, can the Bills afford to pay Gabriel Davis? Can they afford to pay Dawson Knox? Again, what does that receiver group look like next year? Even if Gabriel Davis, gets locked up and he's got another year, but 2 years from now, is Jamison Crowder still here? Is Isaiah McKenzie here? Is Gabriel Davis here? Is Dawson Knox here next year or the year after? There's a lot of questions when it comes to the periphery weaponry group of the Buffalo Bills, and Shakir has the potential to stabilize that a little bit with his skill set and his attitude. And that's going to do it here for us in the Cover One film room. For those of you riding with us live tonight, we appreciate the hell out of you guys as always. And that's funny. This comment here. You guys seem to be on every time I look on YouTube. Are you cyborgs? No, we've got multiple holograms of ourselves, and then we just kind of set it and forget it and let it go. That's how we're able to do so many shows and be on so many things. But for those of you who rode with us live tonight, thank you so much for your live view, your engagement. Ned, thank you very much for the super chat. Again, we talk about it all the time here on Cover One. We appreciate the live viewers on these shows, and we're truly appreciative of the fan base that we have, because you guys are so great with your questions, your thoughts, your comments,
Yes.
your concerns, all of it. Like, it's truly engaging. And we try to get to anything and everything we can. It's a little tougher in the film room because we're pulling up these clips and breaking this down, but we try to bring up anything and everything. And you guys were fantastic as always. And if you were watching later, listening later on any one of the podcasting apps or platforms, whatever have you, thank you so much for your listen, your view, your download, anything and everything. We appreciate the hell out of it. If you're still here live in this episode with us, drop a like on this video. If you are listening or watching later, please rate and review and subscribe and like the Cover One Film Room. We know it sounds corny, and I say this every week on the Film Room and on Disguised Coverage, but it goes a tremendously long way to helping us and the entire team at Cover One to track and trend in front of more eyes and ears so we can continue to grow this thing and ride it until the wheels come off. So thank you very much for your view, your download, your listen. We appreciate the hell out of you guys. For Kendall Mirsky, for myself, Anthony Prohaska, this has been another episode of the Cover One Film Room. We hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe. Take care of one another. Be kind to one another. We will see you next week for another episode of the Cover One Film Room. And as always, go Bills.